So I wanted to do a quick video on the WG2 Feiyu-Tech waterproof gimbal. Just things I like and don't like about it. I like the fact that it fits the Hero5 and that it comes with, because you can adjust the balance point, so you can slide the arm back and forward depending on the weight of the camera. You could mount other cameras like the WG2 or a Hero3, or it comes with a bracket for the session, so you can use the different cameras on the same gimbal, which I really like. I like that it's waterproof purely just so that I don't worry about it getting splashed. I don't think I'm going to use it underwater, but it's nice to know that it can. And I like that it's simple to operate, that you just turn it on. There's no mucking about with firmware updates like there are with other things. It's well worth knowing that you can get this smart remote, which you basically just power up and it will link to the gimbal, and that allows you to then control the gimbal to turn left and right and to tilt up and down. So it makes a very handy little simple remote. You could use this if you were remote mounting the gimbal on the, say, the bonnet of a car, or even when you're holding it, you can still use it to steer around, which is really nice. I like the fact that you just tilt the camera and it holds that position, so you don't have to use a remote control, but you've got the option either way. So those are really good. The things that I don't like, there's a few niggles. Silly things like the charge lead is a micro USB when all of the GoPro 5 stuff is USB-C. So it would be much nicer if it used a USB-C connector for charging. The fact that you can't change the battery is awkward, because it means that if that battery gets old or fails, then the gimbal's probably dustbin, because it probably can't be replaced. But I accept that if you're going to have a waterproof gimbal, that's the easiest way to do it. The other thing that annoyed me, which is just a silly thing, is that Feiyu-Tech make these little metal GoPro T adapters, which used to come with the old WG Mini, and that's why I have some from that. And these screw onto the holes either side of the tripod mounts, and they give an absolutely rock solid GoPro mounting, which is really secure and won't vibrate or wobble because it's metal. But that's not available for the WG2. Instead, I believe that Feiyu-Tech want you to use one of these little screw-on mounts, and the problem with these is you screw them in, but they just come loose. If they vibrate, they will just come loose. So the other problem is they're actually quite tall, so they push the gimbal further up, and of course the further up it is, the more it'll wobble and vibrate. I think that Feiyu-Tech should just make these metal T-mounts again, and they should include two with the WG2 for the cost. But if you're stuck without that, I'd suggest you get this style of adapter, which is the same basic idea. So it's got a tripod screw on it, but the GoPro mounting is offset, and because you can position it and then tighten up the screw, and you can even use a screwdriver to do it up a bit tighter, and it gives you a much more solid mounting. I still don't think it's as good as a T-mount. It's slightly higher, but not a lot, but it's significantly better than one of these screw-in mounts, which are just not suitable, I don't think. The other annoyance, the third thing, and the most annoying for me, is that when you move the gimbal left and right, it doesn't stay flat, it rolls side to side, which is really noticeable. I've got a little test clip that'll show this now. I've had quite a lot of gimbals over the couple of years, and none of them do this. They all hold flat when you move sideways, and to me the whole point of a gimbal is to hold flat however it's moved. So to have a gimbal that as you move it to one side it swings back and forward makes no sense to me. Now I queried this with Feiyu-Tech because I wasn't sure if this was a firmware issue they would resolve or something else, and they've said that the G5, the handle gimbal, doesn't do that, which I'm not sure that I believe. And they say that yeah, that this does, and that's just how it is. I suspect that if you're wearing this on like a mountain bike on a chest harness, then actually it's quite a pleasing look that it swings from side to side as you sort of weave down a path. So my guess is they've done it deliberately, but it is frustrating because other than that, it works really well. The other slight niggle is that it has a tendency, the gimbal, to depending on the angle, to just catch itself, which just it doesn't seem to cause a big problem, but it just makes it stutter. And the other issue I've had is with the gimbal is it not every time, but you'll be moving quite smoothly and then you'll get a little vibration and then it'll stop again. Now luckily the Hero5 has got image stabilization, so I think that masks this, so you don't really see it on the video, but you can hear it buzzing. The other thing people have complained about is this gimbal noise on your audio, and to me it's not an issue really. A gimbal is always going to have motors which are going to make noise, so I think you shouldn't expect to get perfect audio from a gimbal camera. The easy options are either to use a separate sound recorder. I've got like a Zoom H5, which is just a cheap audio recorder, or just another camera and then use the audio from that camera, not the camera on the gimbal. But it's not a huge deal. Again, I've got a little sample. If you compare it with, say, the Osmo, which has atrocious sound, this is way better. Watch where you're going. Watch where you're going. What I do really like is the flexibility of having tripod screws, so you can just easily stick a handle on, or if you get a selfie stick. Yeah, the selfie stick I really like is called a Yunteng 188, and it has 3 sections with the proper locking like a tripod, and then the end is adjustable for angle, and it has a thumb screw to tighten up the tripod. So you just hold the gimbal at the angle you want it to end up at, and then you can do the thumb screw up really tight. Yeah, you get a really solid connection, and then you can then extend that out. Obviously the further you extend it, there is a little bit of flex in the pole, but it's fine. On the first 2 sections it's pretty solid, and that's about a little over 1 meter. On the base of them they have a tripod screw, so you can get, so if you get a second monopod, you can screw them one into the other and make a very long pole. Now obviously at this point you're looking at probably 10 feet of pole, so it obviously will start to wobble a bit, but if you're holding it straight up to get high view, then that's not an issue. And if you use the smart remote to angle the camera, you can use your smartphone using the Gopro Wi-Fi to see the view, so it makes a very nice little setup for, you know, for a couple of quid. These Yunteng 188 selfie sticks, I think I pay about £7 for them on eBay delivered, and yeah, I've got a couple of them that I think they're really good for the price. The main thing I like about the WG2 is just a grab and go gimbal, so you don't have to mess about. You can just grab it, turn it on, stick the handle on it and run around chasing the kids, which is really good, and that's what I'll use it for. So I think yeah, it's a nice gimbal. It would be nice if they improved it with if they stopped the rolling on side-to-side movement in a firmware update. I think that would be really nice, and I'm sure that's possible. Just the USB-C connector and the mounting. Again, the mounting, they should just include the metal T-mounts with them, and I'm sure they could make these again. I think they obviously made them for previous gimbals and they don't make them anymore, but it's not a complicated piece of machinery. I'm sure they could just make some more. So anyway, I hope that's useful. And you got to really pedal now. This is where you're going to earn your money. Now look at the camera.
Look at this camera! Now look at this bad boy! This is why I call it a bad boy.
Back over to your old bike. Oh no, don't go and look.